What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Legends of Tomorrow Season 2, Episode 3, Shogun. Gee, I wonder what this episode's about. It's obviously, of course, about a caveman gun show. You know, like, you, Shogun. The sad part is, that's probably one of my best jokes. So anyway, yeah, this is obviously set in feudal Japan, time of Shogun warriors, samurais, all that good stuff. And ultimately, this episode is kind of character building, not a whole lot of story progression, but we do get more about, Professor Haywood, his new abilities they've discovered. I guess they're going with the name Steel. Original. Oh, you're made of steel. We're gonna call you Steel. That's genius. But it's an enjoyable episode for being such a character building episode. Most of the time when you do character building, it's hard to have enjoyment. It's hard to have moments of, ooh, I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. But they did it fairly well here. So pretty much how it starts, we have Vixen stowing away on the ship, and she starts knocking out everybody because she wants to kill Mick Rory, because she thinks, since Rex Tyler said time traveler, it obviously had to be one of the time travelers she just met, because he wouldn't have said their name. That would just be too obvious. But she assumes it's him because something was stolen, and since he's a thief, that's her first thought. So she goes to kill him, and that's when Professor Haywood wakes up as Steel and stops her from attacking. So from there, we start to see Ray is now trying to teach Haywood to control his powers. We see Sarah convincing Vixen that it's not Mick, he wouldn't do that, he wouldn't kill Rex Tyler. So that's kind of the setup for it. And what I like about this opening setup is that one of the things I said last week, seeing this team without Rip Hunter as the leader, they're not as effective. And we see that because where does Ray decide to train Haywood with his steel abilities? Of course, right near the hatch that leads outside into the time stream. Not really thinking clearly, obviously. And so, of course, that leads to a mistake. Haywood thinking, oh, I'm going to test out how hard I can hits Ray, knocks him into the door, which busts it open, which, as much as I enjoy the fact that they're showing how undisciplined this team is without Rip Hunter in charge, I also do have to ask the question, why is that door so weak that all it takes is just a hit from Ray in the Atom suit to open it? Like, that just, it seems like if you're traveling through the time stream, there should be some sort of mechanism to keep the door from opening at any cost. But however they decide to work it, that's how we end up having our episode. Door opens, it's trying to suck everybody out. Haywood ends up getting sucked out. Ray's like, I'm going to go find him. So he travels through the time stream trying to catch up to him. They both end up in feudal Japan. The rest of the team trying to fix the Wave Rider. And so that's the basis of the episode. Now, from there, we get a couple interesting things and then a couple of frustrating things. One of the frustrating things being this woman picks up Haywood from where he crashed, takes him home to nurse him back to health, and we end up with a romance. Because I don't know. It was sort of out of nowhere. Like, she picks him up to help him, and it's just like, oh, that's all it takes. They're now attracted to each other, and that's it. Why? How? Who? What? When? Where? How does that happen? It's stupid enough to see a 3-day romance. This is like a 2-hour romance. What is going on? I don't even know why they decided to throw this in there, other than the fact that Haywood decides, oh, we need to stay behind to save her because I have feelings for her. You had enough of a reason to stay behind anyway because he has the Atom suit. You could have used that as your reason to stay behind to fight the Shogun, whoever he is. But you're going to throw in this, oh, also I want to help this woman because, she's hot. That's all I need, right? I'm going to risk my life because hot woman. That's all it takes. Whatever. I find that incredibly stupid. because the rest of the episode is just so, it's well set up to keep them there to stop the Shogun from what he's trying to do. You know, he has the Atom suit. That should be enough of a reason to stay behind. They don't need to throw in this forced romance for no reason, because why? You know, what we've seen this a couple other times in some of the other episodes in the first season where they go back in time, they meet somebody who's attracted to them, but it was never a romance. It was always just, oh, an attraction, and that's all it was. So I find it weird that they tried to throw this real romance into it. So whatever the case, the rest of the episode plays out pretty much how you would expect. They capture the Shogun and his warriors capture Rei. They take the Atom suit. Now the Shogun has it, and so now the team has to stop him before he pretty much takes over Japan with the Atom suit. And as much fun as this was, and ultimately the fight scene leading into the final climax, that was the most fun in this episode. As much fun as all that is, the one thing that they didn't do at the end of this was show how was the time stream altered. Because I know for a fact that it had to have been altered in some way. First of all, they killed the Shogun, who was a leader in these lands, and took out a lot of his warriors, so something had to have changed. Something big had to have changed. And they don't even talk about it. And on top of that, they throw in this little other fact, which I like the connection that they threw in, but it also begs the question. The woman and her father are Yamashiros, which means they are the distant relatives of Masayo and Tatsu, or, you know, if you haven't seen Arrow, it's Katana from, you know, Arrow. So that's thrown in there, which means, what did this change about her? Because if this is like her great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother, what if the Shogun was her great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather? What if she had a child by the Shogun, and then that child had another child, and that's how Masayo and Tatsu were born? What if that caused their timeline to be cut off? Does that mean they're no longer in existence? Like, did she end up killing the Shogun anyway, and ended up finding somebody else to marry, and then had a son by whoever that was? They don't explain any of this, and they just sort of kill off this important person in history, and don't even talk about the consequences. That's kind of frustrating. That's part of the show that they've actually handled really well. They've talked about the timeline, they've talked about how it affects everything, how we can't change history. They just changed history. So what happened? Not going to talk about it? Okay, we'll just assume nothing changed, even though a lot of stuff really should have changed. Because if you really think about it, before they stepped in, Katana's relative was supposed to marry the Shogun, and he was known for killing his wives. So was she just supposed to die? And what happened? Did she have a son by the Shogun? What happened? Explain something to me, please. Because I feel like they're just sort of glossing over this, and this is not going to be talked about at all. And that's frustrating, because this should not be done in this show. This should be handled with much more care. It shouldn't have. If they had just made this about any old person in Japan, you know, they could have just made it. He's the leader of a small village. Nobody important in history. He's just the leader of a small village. No connection to any characters we know in the future. If that had been who they killed off, who cares? You know, it's a small person in history. Maybe there's a relative way down the line that may have affected something, but overall, it's a small person in history. There's no big change. This is a big change. This is a shogun. This is a leader of a huge part of feudal Japan. And on top of that, there's a connection to one of the characters in the present timeline, one of her relatives. And we're just completely ignoring all of that. So, I don't know. Maybe they'll talk about it later. Maybe they're just saving it for later. But I'm really frustrated that they just didn't say anything about anything involving that. Anyway, moving on from that, the other part of it that I think kind of kept my interest in this episode, we see Jax and Professor Stein both on the ship working to get it back into working order, and then all of a sudden Jax finds out there's a secret room on the ship. because there's supposed to be 35 compartments, and Gideon said there's 36. So they find the secret compartment, they go inside, there's all of this weaponry in there, and on top of that, there's a message from older Barry Allen telling Rip Hunter something that we don't get to hear yet. And of course, they both say we can't tell the rest of the team because Barry didn't want any of us to know about it. So I'm curious to see what was on that message, curious to hear exactly what was said. But also, I was wondering if maybe this was where Rip Hunter had been, because we don't really know what happened to him after what happened with McRory, putting him into stasis before the nuke hit the Wave Rider. We don't know what happened to him yet. We still don't know where he is, if he's anywhere in timeline or if he's just gone for good. So I thought maybe he had gone somewhere on the ship, and I thought maybe he had gone here and was staying there. So the fact that he wasn't there makes me question again, where is he? And what does this message from Barry Allen mean? Does this mean something to why he disappeared? What exactly is going on? Maybe Barry finds out later that what he did to change time, letting Eobard Thawne take him back and then pretty much leaving him with full access to his powers, it does make me question, does Barry know about that? And so he told future Rip Hunter, well, his future self told Rip Hunter, I know who the time person is that's been affecting everything. And so that's when he tells him, I don't know, a lot of questions to be asked, really building good story and making me excited for the rest of the season. So as much frustration as I had with this, there's still a lot of fun, there's still a lot of good questions to ask. I really hope they explain what this whole thing with the Shogun and all that is, but overall, good, interesting story. We get to see more about Haywood and his powers. We get to see Ray pretty much giving up the Atom suit. He accepts the fact that we have to destroy it because we can't leave it in this guy's hands. So it'd be interesting to see if he kind of has one of those Tony Stark, I am Iron Man moments. We'll see. But yeah, looking forward to it. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What did you like and dislike about this episode? We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe to Future Legends of Tomorrow, and I will see you at the next one. Peace out.